Hey, howdy, hello, welcome. It is GleeCon. Happy to be here, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we took our undead, our forsaken warlock, Farinel, and he's been murdering his way through the Hillsbrad foothills in the name of alchemy. In the name of the allied races for the Horde, killing a lot of humans, farmers, peasants, the evil lot that typically deserve it. So check that episode out if you would like to see some wanton slaughter by demons, definitely all in the sake of justice. We've also been reading the Dungeons and Dragons source book that covers everything in the early World of Warcraft campaign setting. And we're in the final book in that big collection called Dark Factions. And this faction, this chapter is 7. Been all about the factions, and last time we read about the Explorers League and Bran Bronzebeard's little clique of dwarves that dig and delve and try to figure out why are we here and how did we get here. Well, we being the dwarves. So stay a while and listen as we continue that journey. We're going to look at the Farstriders now. I believe that's kind of like an elven kind of spin. We just took some time with the dwarves. Now let's spend some time with the elves. Now, this membership is unknown. It says presumably less than 300. They're neutral good. They are primarily in Lordaeron, Quel'Thalas, what are now the Plaguelands. Their activities are to pursue Silvermoon's agendas. So these are a Blood Elf faction. Hunt and kill enemies of the Sindarai, reclaim southern Quel'Thalas, and protect the Eversong Forest from trolls. And you can tell here that as these books have gotten further along, we're now looking at Burning Crusade type stuff. When Quel'Thalas fell, a small group of elves remained in its forests, the last defenders of a devastated kingdom. These elite rangers are known as the Farstriders, the surgical strike squad of Silvermoon. While the Farstriders have changed with time to become Blood Elves, their motivation remains the same: to protect the interests of the Sindarai, the Blood Elves' new name for themselves, and reclaim Quel'Thalas in the name of Kael'thas Sunstrider. Now, the Farstriders group had its roots in the Troll Wars, which ended around the year negative 2800, meaning 2800 years before the opening of the Dark Portal, though they didn't actually form as a group and take on the name Farstriders until roughly 500 years ago. When the group formed, it was called the Farstriders to reflect its purpose. Its mandate was to protect Quel'Thalas and High Elf interests far beyond their nation's borders. Members of the Farstriders ventured far abroad, all over Azeroth as needed. Despite the feelings of the majority of their race, the Farstriders are one of the few Blood Elf groups that still has some honor and nobility associated with it. Ooh, that's anti-Hordist. This group of rangers is still strongly tied to the land. They're trying to retake Quel'Thalas, and they believe they can do so and not lose sight of who they are. These guys are good. Comprised of the best elven rangers, the Farstriders took war to a new level, inventing new stalking and guerrilla techniques and ever improving their skill with bows. The Rangers even learned to find weak points in otherwise fortified creatures such as undead and golems. Heck, even an arrow alone is dangerous in the hands of a Farstrider. I guess they can stab with it. Like other societies, the Farstriders evolved over time. As the troll threats were minimized, the Farstriders focused their abilities on other endeavors. Already skilled in stealthy combat, Farstriders formed surgical attack teams independent of Quel'Thalas' main military force, but under the royalty's rule. Farstriders were one part border patrol, one part special operations squads, and just mean combat machines. That's a technical term. After the Horde attacked Quel'Thalas in the Second War, the Farstriders, along with the rest of the High Elves, joined the Alliance. The Farstriders and other Elven Rangers focused on combating the Horde's forced troll berserkers. Many stayed behind as well, serving as border patrol and training new Rangers for the war effort. Many Farstriders died to save their nation. The Farstriders reported directly to Ranger General Sylvanas Windrunner, the leader of their organization. When Sylvanas fell with Silvermoon, the Farstriders chose a new leader, Ranger General Haldoran Brightwing, and he's still someone that you can interact with. He is either the second in command or possibly the leader of the current Blood Elves. Despite the horrendous problems their race faces, the Rangers remain dedicated to their goals simply because there is work to be done and they must do it. Today, the Farstriders exist much as they once did, blasting any evil that threatens the Elven race. Every one of them is a Blood Elf now. The Farstriders' goal is to eradicate the scourge from the southern parts of Quel'Thalas and heal the damage to the forests caused by the war. According to one bloke, Zulamon rises again, which means troll aggressions increase. The Farstriders meet this call to arms in Eversong Forest and battle the Amani trolls. Once again, there's a picture of, it looks like a couple of these Farstriders, and they are, I can't tell, something is chopping down a tree. Maybe it's a troll. It's kind of hard to tell. It's something with a big two-handed axe. And also, oh, there are two things that are chopping down that tree. I don't know what they are. Forsaken wouldn't necessarily do that. Like most Blood Elves, Farstriders don't get along with anyone who is not a Blood Elf. Oh, and don't talk to the Night Elves about the Cinderai and their elite rangers. In the Night Elves' eyes, Blood Elves are just another menace to the world. Yet despite their xenophobia and prejudices, the Farstriders are still good people, holding a lawful society in the midst of chaos and hell. They're just trying to get by. The Farstriders despise the Scourge almost as much as they do Forest Trolls. I would say maybe more so. Everyday teams of Farstriders enter Quel'Thalas' southernmost regions and parts of the eastern Plaguelands, striking against the undead. Some of their attacks are attempts to cleanse their land, but I think the attacks are also about revenge. Blood Elves are known for their grudges. The Farstriders still carry deep resentment toward the Horde, especially orcs and trolls. Farstriders go out of their way to slay trolls, even those of the Horde. I once tried to explain to a veteran of the Second War that the Horde's decent folk now, and he almost put an arrow in my gut for sympathizing with mongrels. The Farstriders haven't had much experience with the Tauren, and so have no particular quarrel with them. Still, the Farstriders tend to think of them as bestial brutes. Then there's the fact that the Horde let the Forsaken into their ranks. As I said, undead and elves don't mix. Then again, I've heard some disturbing rumors. While fighting in the Eastern Plaguelands, I heard something disturbing. Ooh, I don't like it when you use the same word that close together. Bad writing. Come on, editor. Sylvanas is in communication with the Blood Elves these days. Rumor has it that Sylvanas is offering assistance to the Blood Elves, and that it looks more and more possible that the Blood Elves will join the Horde. Spoiler. I don't know how the Farstriders are going to take working alongside trolls. The future will tell, I suppose. Like I said, the Farstriders are regulated and controlled by Silvermoon under the Ranger General. Back when the Farstriders first formed, they spent much of their time far from Elven lands, fighting to protect the interests of their people. Since that time, however, the Farstriders have come to focus on their homeland. They no longer venture far afield. Instead, they patrol the borders of Quel'Thalas in order to keep their people safe from trolls and undead. In the field, Farstriders organize into teams of 3 to 5 members. One member serves as tactical reconnaissance, scouting, and surveying their prey before reporting back to his fellows. Many scoff at such small warrior bands, but I've seen these guys in actions. Even a band of greenhorns, which is more likely to have 5 members rather than 3, is a small army by itself. I once watched 3 veterans clear out a camp of 30 orcs and 10 trolls, and the last orc to die still had no clue where the arrows were coming from. Once Farstriders traveled far and wide, these days, however, most stay within Quel'Thalas' borders, maintaining the peace and fighting off the Scourge and Zulamon. While the occasional band ventures into the eastern Plaguelands or hinterlands, they don't go far from home anymore. As I said before, Farstriders are all Blood Elves. Furthermore, everyone is a ranger of some sort. While the rare Farstrider may focus on roguish pursuits, the faction is entirely combat-related, and even their rogues are deadly with a bow, or without a bow, for that matter. Joining the Farstriders is no mean task. You must go through an extensive trial period, testing your archery skills as well as your survival and stealth skills. No Farstrider is truly a greenhorn, though, never below 8th level, and most are easily 12th level or beyond. Yeah, that's just a technical thing. You must be 12th level. To become a Farstrider, a character must have excellent stealth and survivor skills, at least 10 ranks each. So we're talking about like prestige class D&D kind of things here. And at least some training as a ranger at 1 level of the Elven Ranger prestige class. A newly inducted ranger receives extensive training in guerrilla tactics as well as lessons in anatomy. Scoff all you want, it makes a big difference when a ranger is able to precisely locate every weak point on your body and take you down with 1 or 2 arrows. Senior members are killing machines. They can put an arrow through a goblin's heart at 500 paces and not even break a sweat. Most senior Farstriders have killed more beasts than any soldier in the Blood Elf military. They make defious assassins look like babies. And their leader is Ranger General Haldoran Brightwing, the male Blood Elf. Before the Third War, Sylvanas Windrunner was the Ranger General, the highest authority among the Farstriders, and with her death, a void was left, leaving the Rangers without a leader. They missed improper use of an apostrophe there, come on. Soon, Haldoran, a great ranger, was raised to Ranger General and rules the Rangers to this day. What if you want to be one? Well, the Farstriders are all Blood Elf Rangers. The few High Elves who join the Farstriders often succumb to Blood Elf ways and declare themselves Cinderai. While they're incredibly skilled, only so many Farstriders exist. They're also only human. Well, only elves, anyhow. Sometimes even they get into some serious trouble or need backup, and heroes may run quests for the Farstriders, providing a little extra muscle for the group. And this is what a couple of those adventures might look like. While deep in Zulaman, a band of Farstrider recruits is captured, and they're now being tortured by the trolls. The Farstriders, as a small group unable to commit more of their own, hire the heroes to venture into Zulaman and rescue the elves. Or an eager and young group of Tauren and Orcs seek to emulate the Farstriders, but get in over their heads. That would be kind of cool. All right, you know what that means, ladies and gents. We have another episode in the pipe 5x5. As always, I appreciate you for watching and for listening, and I look forward to making the next episode and having you tune in next time on Lore of Warcraft.